Hey, Squirrel Squad listeners, part 3. Oh, I'm crossing everything I got that we can get through this. Okay, I marked my place. When the folks went away, I started for the cow pasture, and on the way, I did some thinking. I felt sorry for Emily and kind of fancied I hadn't been so thoughtful of her as I might. And besides, I wondered if the ministers would think that Ginger had learned his vocabulary from me. The long and short of it was, I decided that Ginger would have to be mercifully disposed of when I druv, D-R-U-V, the cows home. I went in to tell Emily so, but there was no Emily, and there was a letter on the table, just according to the rule in storybooks. Emily writ that I'd have to choose between her and Ginger. She'd gone back to her own house, and there she would stay till I went and told her I'd got rid of that parrot. This is, what's his name talking? That's why the language is funny. I had forgotten for a minute. What's his name? Mr. Harrison? I was all riled up, Anne, and I said she might stay till doomsday if she waited for that, and I stuck to it. I packed up her belongings and sent them after her. It made an awful lot of talk. Scottsford was pretty near as bad as Avonlea for gossip, and everybody sympathized with Emily. It kept me all cross and cantankerous, and I saw I'd have to get out or I'd never have any peace. I concluded I'd come to the island. I'd been here when I was a boy and I liked it. But Emily had always said she wouldn't live in a place where folks were scared to walk out after dark for fear they'd fall off the edge. So just to be contrary, I moved over here, and that's all there is to it. I had never heard a word from or about Emily till I come home from the backfield Saturday and found her scrubbing the floor, but with the first decent dinner I'd had since she left me already on the table. She told me to eat it first and then we'd talk, by which I concluded that Emily had learned some lessons about getting along with a man. So she's here and she's going to stay, seeing that Ginger's dead and the island's some bigger than she thought. There's Mrs. Lind and her now. No, don't go, Anne. Stay and get acquainted with Emily. She took quite a notion to you Saturday, wanted to know who that handsome red-haired girl was at the next house. Mrs. Harrison welcomed Anne radiantly and insisted on her staying to tea. James A. has been telling me all about you and how kind you've been, making cakes and things for him, she said. I want to get acquainted with all my new neighbors just as soon as possible. Mrs. Lind is a lovely woman, isn't she? So friendly. When Anne went home in the sweet June dusk, Mrs. Harrison went with her across the fields where the fireflies were lighting their starry lamps. I suppose, said Mrs. Harrison confidentially, that James A. has told you our story? Yes. Then I needn't tell it, for James A. is a just man, and he would tell the truth. The blame was far from being all on his side. I can see that now. I wasn't back in my own house an hour before I wished I hadn't been so hasty, but I wouldn't give in. I see now that I expected too much of a man, and I was real foolish to mind his bad grammar. It doesn't matter if a man does use bad grammar so long as he's a good provider and doesn't go poking around the pantry to see how much sugar you've used in a week. I feel that James A. and I are going to be real happy now. I wish I knew who Observer is so that I could thank him. I owe him a real debt of gratitude. Anne kept her own counsel, and Mrs. Harrison never knew that her gratitude found its way to its object. Anne felt rather bewildered over the far-reaching consequences of those foolish notes. They had reconciled a man to his wife and made the reputation of a prophet. The weatherman. Mrs. Lind was in the Green Gables kitchen. She'd been telling the whole story to Marilla. Well, and how do you like Mrs. Harrison? She asked Anne. Very much. I think she's a real nice little woman. That's exactly what she is, said Miss Rachel with emphasis, as I've just been saying to Marilla. I think we ought to all overlook Mr. Harrison's peculiarities for her sake and try to make her feel at home here, that's what. Well, I must get back. Thomas will be wearying for me. I get out a little since Eliza came, and he seemed a lot better these past few days, but I never like to be long away from him. I hear Gilbert Blythe has resigned from White Sands. He'll be off to college in the fall, I suppose. Mrs. Rachel looked sharply at Anne, but Anne was bending over a sleepy Davy, nodding on the sofa, and nothing was to be read in her face. She carried Davy over, her oval girlish cheek pressed against his curly yellow head. As they went up the stairs, Davy flung a tired arm about Anne's neck and gave her a warm hug and a sticky kiss. You're awful nice, Anne. Milty Bolter wrote on his slate today and showed it to Jenny Sloane. Roses red, violets blue, sugar sweet, and so are you. And that expresses my feelings for you exactly, Anne. And that's all, 25. So I'll stop there just so we can be starting on a new chapter next time. Today is Monday. Happy Monday. And it's always a good day for me. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 5 for our live chats. And Saturday and Sunday at 3. And all that's Eastern time. Just in case we got some new listeners on here. We have been having every once in a while. And I know I just had this on yesterday, y'all. I just want to live in this, and I might. I'll watch it. I'll watch it every once in a while. If y'all were watching Krista this morning, Secret Yarnery, you know, she told us about doing a pedicure sort of, getting the dead skin off our feet with a vinegar foot bath. I did that, y'all, and it works. My feet feel so good. I think a pound of dead skin came off each one. I about scalded them off at first, though. I put water from my tea kettle in there. But I put a lot of vinegar, white vinegar in, too, so I thought, you know, mixed it. I got my feet right. You know, I just barely touched the bottoms of them, and yikes! So I put a lot of vinegar in to cool it off right quick because I couldn't wait. But anyway, so I'm going to have to do that like monthly or something anyway. So y'all try that. It's just hot water and white vinegar. Stick your feet in there 5 minutes or so while you're watching something on your YouTube, on your phone or whatever. I'm just going on and on. I love y'all, and I'll see you later. Love you. Bye-bye. Be sweet. Don't be ugly.